Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about dual subwoofers, or at least multiple subwoofers. We're going to be discussing the benefits, and I'm not only going to tell you the benefits, I'm going to show you the benefits using some software called REW, which is Room EQ Wizard. Now, before we jump into the video, if you're into home theater, audio, and video, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified when the next video drops. All right, guys, in my home theater, I have a pair of SVS PB16 Ultra subwoofers. Now, the other day I was playing with some software that I've been using and learning called REW, or Room EQ Wizard. So what I wanted to do is see if REW could physically show me the benefits of using more than one subwoofer in my home theater. And so let's go ahead and dive into the software and I'll show you what I found. Okay, so here we are inside of Room EQ Wizard. Now, Room EQ Wizard allows you to analyze your room using a calibrated microphone. In my case, I use a Mini DSP UMIK-1. I've got it connected to my laptop using a USB cable, and then coming out of the laptop using an HDMI cable, it goes into my Marantz AV7705 Pre-Pro. That way I can take measurements from my room. For example, we could come up here to click Measure, set our parameters. We're going to run a frequency sweep from 10 Hertz all the way up to 200 Hertz. And we're going to let it go for about 10 seconds. You can see that over here. And if I click Start Measuring, it's going to run a frequency sweep starting with 10 Hertz and slowly increase the frequency all the way up to 20 Hertz. And then it's going to create a graph and show you what SPL was at each frequency. And so I've already done that in a few different scenarios. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to just show you the graphs that it generated. And so the very first thing I did was I only connected one of my PB16 Ultras. And so down here you can see it says left PB16 behind the AT, which is acoustic transparent screen. And so I've got two PB16s behind my 150-inch acoustic transparent screen. And so I turned on the left subwoofer and I ran a frequency sweep using REW. And so this is the graph that it produced. And so you can see here, basically the way that this works is down here, this is 10 Hertz, and all the way to the right is 200 Hertz. Technically, you only see 100 Hertz because I've got it limited over here to 100. But if I were to change this, you'll see it indeed did graph that. But we don't really need to see past 100 Hertz because typically you've got your crossover set at about 80 Hertz, 70 Hertz, or maybe even 60 Hertz. So I'm just going to leave this at 100 because really this is all we're interested in right in here. And so with one single PB16, basically you can see here at 10 Hertz, we were about 82 decibels. If I come right in the middle here, so that's going to be about 15 Hertz, you can see we were gaining about, 99 decibels. And then all the way over here, this is down here, you can see 18 Hertz. And over here, we were hitting at 103 Hertz or 103 decibels. And so basically you can see what this tells us about this particular subwoofer is that about 19 or 18 Hertz, that's the peak of this subwoofer. And so anything lower than that, you can see we start losing volume right here. We start losing SPL, sound pressure level. And so there's not a lot of great output right here. And that's the way this subwoofer is designed. And so basically looking across this frequency sweep, you can see it's not a straight line. You know, some people, they really want a flat frequency response. They want about the same SPL at all frequencies. And so for the most part, that's kind of the goal. So looking at this, you can see right here I have kind of this dip. So we're going to get less output at, if I click here, down here you can see it's about 20 Hertz. So at 20 Hertz, we're down a few decibels. And then you can see we have a little boost right here. Another real small dip, but notice this right here. This is what I call like the Grand Canyon of dips. And so we go from, if I click here, So we're at 43 hertz and we're at 101 decibels. So that's solid. Problem is look what happens when we get right here. At 46 hertz, we're down to 70 decibels. We've lost like 30 decibels in volume. In other words, Gene Della Sala with Audioholics calls this a major suck out. That is indeed a major suck out. That is a null, a lack of bass. So in those frequencies right here, in between 40 and 50 hertz, you're going to be missing a lot of content. And that 40 to 50 hertz is a lot of that kick you in the chest kind of bass. And so we definitely don't want that. So where I'm going with this is if I only had a single PB16 Ultra in that location in my room, this is what I would get. I would get good bass response from about 20 hertz, 18 hertz, all the way up to about 42 hertz. So that would be good. That would be solid. I'd get this major dip right here at say 41 hertz to maybe a little bit right under 50 hertz or about 50 hertz. So we lost a lot of output there. And then right here we've lost output as well from 50 hertz to 70 hertz. So that's the first subwoofer. So let's go ahead, I'm going to turn this one off. Then I turned off the PB16, the left one, and then I connected the right PB16, did the same exact frequency sweep. And so here, you can see it looks pretty similar. So we got this, we start losing output here. Again, that's the nature of that particular subwoofer. It'll play down to about 17 hertz, and then you start losing output below that. That's the design of that subwoofer. And so we got a small dip here, not a big deal. Everything else looks good. But again, right here between 40 and 50 hertz, we've got this not quite as deep, but it's still significant. We're going from 102 decibels down to only 82 decibels. So we've lost 20 dB. That's huge. And so you don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button down here so that we can see both the left and the right independently. Now, running REW with the left and then running REW with the right. And so you can just see how those compare. So they're almost identical through here. And then both of them have this dip. They're just in a little bit different frequencies, and one is larger than the other. So what are some of the benefits of adding two subwoofers? Because again, this would be having one subwoofer on the left only, and the other one would be, this green one, would be having only one subwoofer on the right side of my room up in the front behind my acoustic transparent screen. But my question is what would happen if we had two subwoofers like I have and we run a frequency sweep with both of those connected? Does that impact the sound? Does that, how does that change? What are some benefits? And so the great thing is with REW and a calibrated microphone, you can see physically the benefits of having dual subwoofers in your setup. And so I ran a third frequency sweep, and with this one you can see I named it dual PB16 behind AT. So basically I turned on both the left PB16 and the right PB16, and I ran a frequency sweep with REW, and here's what that looked like. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and turn these two off just so that we can see. So remember this big dip right here. That's what we're going to focus on, because watch what happens when I had both of them turned on. That dip is gone, like completely. And so you see we still have this small dip here, no big deal. Another tiny dip here, not a big deal. Lost a little bit of output here, but we don't have that massive chasm right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn all three of them on. Well, actually, we'll start with one. So here was the left PB16 by itself. Here was the right PB16 by itself. And this third one, the blue one, is going to be both PB16s playing at the same time. And so there's a couple of things I want us to see here. One of the benefits, as you can see, we had this major null right here in a single subwoofer. we had a major, even bigger null right here with another single subwoofer. But when you combine both of those subwoofers and play them together and run a frequency sweep, we negate that null. That null is fixed. And so what happens is certain places in your room are going to have a lack of bass if you only have one subwoofer. By adding 2 or 3 or even 4 subwoofers, you can help kind of fix those trouble areas and fix those nulls, and so you can get solid bass response in that frequency range and in that seating position. And so that's one benefit, and that's a huge benefit to me. The other benefit that we can see graphically is, notice right here, with one subwoofer, we had, let's just click right here. So with one PB16, we were hitting about 103 decibels. With the other PB16 by itself, same thing, 103 decibels. But when we put both of them together, if I click right here, you'll notice we now have 109.7 decibels. So basically, by adding a second subwoofer, another benefit is you're going to get additional output. And so in my case, by adding a second subwoofer, I went from 103 decibels to 100 and almost 10 decibels. It's like right at 109 decibels, almost 110 decibels. And so we gained 6 decibels of volume, okay? And so instead of cranking up your subwoofer, you know, and maxing it out, trying to get more gain and more sound pressure in your room, adding a second subwoofer allows you to increase the output, and you probably don't even have to turn it up as loud. You definitely wouldn't have to turn it up that loud to get that same output right here. And so those are two big benefits of having multiple subwoofers. Number one, it helps smooth out that bass, those peaks and those nulls, and so it can fix some of those trouble areas. The second benefit would be you get a gain in SPL, a gain in volume. And then the third one that I really don't have graphed here, but basically it helps smooth out that frequency response across different seating positions. I definitely have noticed with one subwoofer in my room, I could move from seat to seat because I have 6 seats in my theater room, and I would have great bass in one seat, and I would move to the next seat right next to it, and I would get very little bass in certain frequencies. And so having multiple subwoofers allows that bass response to be more smooth and more even across all of your listening positions. So as you can see, using some software like REW, which is free by the way, using that in conjunction with a calibrated microphone, I'll show you this right here. So this is a UMIK1 microphone by Mini DSP. There's other ones out there as well. These run pretty close. I think they're about 70 to 100 bucks, somewhere around there. Incredibly worth the investment. For a long time, I kind of went against, I was like, man, I really don't want to spend the money on a microphone. But the reality, guys, is you cannot figure out exactly where your subwoofers are going to be the best position in your room. A lot of you guys, you may just put your subwoofer up in a corner because that's where it fits. And that's all great, but just realize just because it looks good there doesn't necessarily mean that's the best position. You can move your subwoofer literally a foot, 2 foot, 3 feet and get drastic differences. I have physically done that. Now that I have REW, now that I have a calibration microphone, I can physically move a subwoofer from this location to that location, to that location, behind my screen, over here on this side, even in this back corner. And I can physically see on a graph where do I get the flattest frequency response. You know, you don't want a subwoofer here if you're going to have this big nasty dip in certain frequencies because you're going to be missing content. When you're watching a movie, there's a big explosion and maybe those particular frequencies are in a real big null, that big canyon, and you're not going to feel that impact because you're 20, 30 decibels less during, in that frequency range. And so by having some software like REW, by having some software as well as a calibration microphone, you can physically see what's going on in your room. And hopefully through this video, you've been able to see that adding a second subwoofer or maybe even a third or a fourth can definitely help you get better frequency response in your room so that you get all the bass out of your subwoofers that you paid for. Now, if you like these type of videos, I've got 10 videos on REW right here, as well as 37 videos on subwoofers that I've tested in my home theater. And I'll also post links to some calibration microphones as well as various subwoofers you might be interested down in the description below. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.